Hey guys, it's Reitz from Reitz Reviews here, and today we're going to be going over the Pulsar Xlite. To give you a hint, I might own two of these. To start this off, I'm going to talk about the shape of the Pulsar Xlite wireless. I wanted to give a quick shout out to Side, who in the comments of my last video stated he wanted to know the exact dimensions because it helped him out. So I'll start off with the hard numbers, and then we can go into actually me holding it in my hands. So the height of the mouse at its peak is 122.66 millimeters, followed by the width being 66.17 millimeters, and the length being 42 millimeters. Alright, so talking about the shape, I have 19 by 10 hands. Can try and show you that here. I like to do a aggressive claw, if not do fingertip, depending on the mouse that I'm using. So what I have lined up here is the final mouse, the Starlight 12 Phantom. Here is the Pulsar Xlite. The reason why I have two of these is the red one has the glass skates. The white one has been replaced with core pads on the bottom. And then I have the SUPERLIGHT, which I would view as the industry standard. So, doing comparison, how I grip these. This is an ergo mouse, extremely comfortable. The way that I hold would be this. It would be my standard grip. If you remember in my previous video, I have a pretty aggressive, I like to use the tip of my thumb. So for me, that lines up right between the two buttons. So for me, this is incredibly comfortable. You can see I did put grip tape all over it. It has holes in it, so that makes the sides, to me personally, a little bit slippery. But besides that, this shape is incredibly comfortable. In fact, one of my favorite shapes of all time. If I were to do the same here with the SUPERLIGHT, here you can see me trying to emulate the same grip. Everything lines up pretty much the same. So as you can see, my thumb is right there in the center, and how I hold my other finger. So truthfully, I'm taking the grip that I use with the SUPERLIGHT, applying it to an ergo mouse, and this feels more comfortable for this while it's doable. If I try and do that grip pattern here, I kind of line up somewhat the same. My thumb's still a little bit further back than I would like on this mouse from my review, but I would say if you have the SUPERLIGHT, you'd be comfortable with the Xlite just going from an ambi to an ergo. If I had to score the shape of the Pulsar Xlite, for me personally, with it being a very comfortable ergo and truthfully being the mouse that out of all the ones that I have in my disposal is currently my main, honestly for me, this shape is a 10. It is incredibly fantastic. It is very comfortable. I can still operate how I want with it. I can reach all the buttons just fine. I don't get fatigued with this shape. It is a EC2 clone to an extent. I mean, it is pretty much one of the only wireless versions on the market. The sizing is between them. But I have to say, for all the ergo mice that I have used, which is like the Death Adder, this one is extremely comfortable, and it's made me extremely interested in the rest of Pulsar's products. Okay, let's talk about the weight of these mice. So the mouse comes in at 59 grams. I imagine it has a variance of 1 to 2. I have still yet to buy a scale, but it's something I plan on doing in my future videos. But to compare all these, this would be the lightest mouse that I have used, coming in at about 46, 48, depending on that plus minus 2. The Pulsar Xlite comes in at 59, 58, depending on the build quality. And then I have the SUPERLIGHT, which I believe comes in at about, it was what, 60, 62? So, I mean, if I were to pick all these up side by side and just do a quick test, it's very apparent that this is the lightest mouse on the table. These are all very similar, very comfortable weight range. Still talking about weight, something to consider is also the weight balancing of these mice. I will say that the Pulsar Xlite is very slightly front heavy, which to me is a non-issue. It is still my best scoring mouse when it comes to Kovacs and other things that I've practiced with. I do know that they are making a new design where they move the battery to the back of the mouse to help with their weight balancing. So if that's something that has you concerned, you can always wait for the V2 that is supposed to be coming out here in Q1 of 2022. Talking about the weight of the mouse and scoring it out of a 10, we did put the Starlight 12 Phantom as currently our highest scoring at a 10 out of 10. It is the most lightweight mouse at my disposal. So with that in mind, this being a category of its own at this time, thinking it out loud, if this was 46, 48 grams, and these are going back to upper 50s, I would say if this is a 10, I would put the weight class of these at an 8. I would say the 50 gram range probably an 8, and then going down from there. 60s would probably start scaling it down, and then you have those 120 gram ice that are terrifying to my wrist and everything I live for. Something that was requested in my previous video was to start including the software as part of the tech review. So here we go. Here's the Pulsar Xlite configuration software. Here you can remap your individual clicks. You can have different profiles going on. You can also set your demounts. I will say that on my copy that I had double clicking until I set it to 4. Some people are luckier than I am. Warranty is if the debounce is set to above 4 and is still getting double clicks, so it seems that I'm still within their threshold for that. Here you can set your DPI, you can set 1000 hertz. As you can see, I just use 1600. I don't really mess with it. I keep all of this the same. Definitely 1000 hertz, as I was saying, because some testing showed that below 1000 had some slight stability issues. LOD I've set to 1 with no issue. I don't use angle snapping or ripple control. And they have macros, which I have not used personally, but if you need it, it's there. Alright, let's talk the tech of the mouse. We're looking at a PAW 3370 sensor. Goes between 50 to 20,000 DPI, 400 IPS, can go up to 50 grams of acceleration. It's 1000 hertz polling, and it has a 32-bit ARM processor. Long story short, as long as you are not flinging your mouse like a cruise missile across your desk, it should be able to track just fine. 3370 sensor seems to be the bread and butter sensor that a lot of mice are using. It also has the Khalil 8.0 clicks. So all good tech. Would I say that it's a 10 out of 10, is the latest, groundbreaking, the best of the best? I'd probably go ahead and give this an 8. The clicks are pretty decent. I do have 2 different versions. They do have a little bit of a tolerance difference when I click between them. It's not a huge deal. Sensor I've had no issues with. I saw that there was some testing that showed that if they had less than 1000 hertz set as the speed, they can run into issues. But I think most people use 1000 polling anyway, so that once again should be a non-issue. So I feel comfortable saying a good 8 out of 10. Alright, let's discuss the quality control of these mice. So one of the biggest things that would mostly concern people is, well, it has holes in it, as you can see, and to that means that it could possibly be perceived as lower quality. I will say that I have 2 of these mice, so I can go in and do a quick check against 2 different models. So for me, if I were to squeeze it, I can get a slight amount of flex on the sides. Pressing down on the top, I can get a little bit of flex here in the center. Normal usage of me clicking, how I hold it, pressing the buttons, I get next to none of those issues when it comes to that. In regards to the skates, they were pretty muddy, the stock anyways. So I swapped to the glass on this mouse, and I swapped to the core pads on my white mouse. And I will say that the quality control of their glass skates, to me, has been pretty phenomenal. I've been using this for a few weeks now. I haven't had any issues where others have reported it being muddy or whatnot. I will say that it is glass, and it will pick up anything that you have in your mouse pads. And I am pretty meticulous when it comes to cleaning because I have 3 cats. So for me, if I run into this being muddy, all I ended up doing was just quite literally rubbing my finger across it, making sure that it was clean of any cat hair, anything that was on my mouse pad, and then I can continue on as business as usual. But I haven't had any real issues. I will say that I do have a video where I opened up both of these mice. They had a little bit of post and pre-travel where these mice are actually so easy to open up. It was quite easy to do the aluminum foil mod. So quality control wise, a little bit of creaking, but only if you are squeezing it hard. If you're clicking it, you might notice a post and pre-travel, but it's very easy to modify. But once again, most people don't want to open up their mice. Most people don't want to have to modify from stock. So right now, I would say quality control, I'd probably give it about a 7. I think that if they can bin the Khalil 8.0s, make sure the clicks are consistent, because these are a little bit different on my 2 mice, that would definitely help. The creaking, like I said, it's only if you like are squeezing it hard, so not much they could probably do there. I know that they're making the version 2 with less holes in it, so hopefully that will be an improvement. And I really wish that you could buy this mouse with the glass skates already on. I imagine that could be an issue, and I know that changing mouse feet isn't too terribly difficult, but it would be nice for people to be able to get that for the wireless. So when it comes to availability and pricing, this mouse comes out to be $80, which is basically a industry lead for a top-notch mouse for how inexpensive it is compared to me spending $130 on a SUPERLIGHT or $190 for the final mouse. You know, the the G303 from Shroud was about $150, and this one is $80 and has all the top-of-the-line components. On top of that, I ordered this mouse, and it was shipped across the world to my house in the States in about 3 days, which is absolutely wild. So ordering from their website direct is incredibly fast. You can get this whenever you want, and the price range is, I would say, honestly, like a leader in the space right now. For how cheap it is, for how good this mouse is, this is the mouse that I would give right now a 10 out of 10 in availability and pricing. You can get it whenever you want, and what you're getting for the price is definitely, top notch. All right, so to go over the scores that I gave this, I gave it a 10 out of 10 for shape. Personally, I'm a huge fan. Weight class, since it came in at 58 grams, I give it an 8 out of 10. I feel like the Phantom is probably the industry leading right now with how light it is. Tech, I'm going to do an 8 out of 10. It does have the 3370, Khalil 8.0s. I feel that, that's pretty much, front of the pack, but not, industry leading. Quality control 7 out of 10. Has a little bit of creaking if I were to grip it, but usually no issues with that. I had a little bit of post and pre-travel. Fortunately, this mouse is super easy to open up, so that's something I was able to modify myself. And then finally, for availability, I gave it a 10 out of 10 because this mouse is $80 and you can get it shipped internationally and it takes like 3 days. So adding all those scores up real quick, it looks like with it a 10, an 8, an 8, a 7, and a 10, divided by 5, again 8.6. So I'd say, that sounds right. This is a fantastic mouse for the price. Small things that I wish that they would fix, but I mean, an 8.6 out of 10 is still a fantastic score. I rated it higher than the final mouse, so something to consider. Alright, so I wanted to do a quick sound test. So I'm going to do the left click, I'm going to do the right click, and going to spam the middle button. I think it all sounds pretty good. Scrolling the mouse wheel, dead silent. It's not loud like other mice, so if you like it silent, I think you'll like it a lot. Alright, so I'm going to do a glide test. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Xlite on glass. I'm going to use the final mouse. I'm going to use the SUPERLIGHT, and I'm going to use the Xlite wireless with core pads. So this is on the Lethal Gaming Jupiter, which will have a little bit different of a speed profile depending on what is on it. So this will be actually quite fun to see. Take 1, very slow. Take 2, about there. Take 3, about that distance. Okay? So I'll try and keep that lined up. Move that out of the way. So that was the glass. This is going to be the final mouse on normal skates. So that launches extremely farther. I don't know if you noticed how much it's going, but it's, lightweight mouse, and their stock skates on the Jupiter is quite quick. So I'll just remember that this was a little bit farther out. Put that to the side. So that was the glass. So we'll do the SUPERLIGHT. SUPERLIGHT looks like it's ending up roughly between the two. If I do the same amount of force, or it can actually slide for quite a bit. And then if we go for the core pads, which surprisingly are super quick on this surface, it's like, I'm just going to give it a very light touch. And then if I were to ham. You know, this becomes a hockey puck table, or air hockey table rather. Which is surprising because here's the glass, right? This is what you would assume would be the fastest on the surface, but no, this is actually feels really controlled. And then I switch to the core pads, and the core pads are like, let's play air hockey. So, but this is my favorite setup, is the Lethal Gaming with the Xlite with glass. This actually feels incredibly controlled, and I like it a lot. So, if anything, I hope that was amusing to watch me play air hockey here. Hey guys, I hope you liked watching this rich review of the Pulsar Xlite wireless. This is my second video, so if you have any feedback that I can expand off of, I definitely have been reading the comments and I expanded on this video, so I'm looking forward to probably buying a weight scale so I can check my copies, and just let me know what else that you would like to see from me. So if you like what you see, like and subscribe, and I hope you guys tune into my next video.